Just after midnight, everything was quiet. I was alone on the sofa, and past memories flooded me like a tide. Suddenly, a warm hand gently slid across my cheek, disrupting my thoughts. I quickly raised my hand to slap it like a conditioned reflex, but only caught a ball of air. Then, my son Jack's familiar and energetic laughter rang in my ears. "Mom, you are still so easy to be amused," he said with a smile, and the mischievousness in his voice was exactly the same as when he was a child. I pretended to be angry and glared at him, but when my eyes met his smile, that was as bright as the warm sun, the pretended anger in my heart instantly dissipated without a trace. I quietly stared at Jack in front of me. He was already 26 years old, tall and straight, and exuded the unique charm of a mature man. But every time he showed that childish smile, I seemed to see the little boy, who was laughing and acting coquettishly beside me again. His black hair was a little messy because of the fight just now, just like a willow branch swaying in the spring wind, and his blue eyes, under the light, sparkled with joy, just like the ripples jumping in the deep ocean. You are so old, but you are still like a child." I raised the corners of my mouth, smiled and scolded, but my heart was filled with warmth. Since my husband, Jack's father David, passed away suddenly a year ago, Jack has been like a strong tree, firmly becoming a strong pillar in my life. Not only did he give me endless comfort on the spiritual level, he also took the initiative to take on part of the burden of the family business, allowing me to be slightly relieved from the heavy pressure. Looking back on the past, David's departure was a disaster for us. At that time, Jack had just turned 25 and was at a critical crossroads in his life. But in those dark and difficult years, my mother and son leaned on each other and supported each other. Our relationship became closer, just like being tightly entangled by the rope of fate. Jack is very similar to his father, with a smart mind, a strong sense of responsibility, and a lot of energy. After taking over the family business, he injected new vitality into the business with his novel and unique ideas, promoting the steady progress of the enterprise. Every night, after a busy day, we always nestle together in this cozy little living room. Although the living room has limited space, it is filled with photos that carry precious memories of our family. The dim light from the table lamp in the corner is like a layer of soft gauze, covering the entire space in a warm atmosphere. Sometimes, Jack would gently lean his head on my legs like he did when he was a child, and I would reach out and gently comb his hair with my fingers, with gentle and soothing movements, as if caressing a rare treasure. Such intimate interaction always makes me feel incomparable peace of mind. We talked freely, and the topic extended from the trivial daily work to the good times spent with David in the past. Every time I recall, it seems to go back along the long river of time and walk through those sunny days again. One night, Jack suddenly proposed to prepare a unique bath for me. I was stunned at first, and then I was deeply moved. He carefully adjusted the bathtub water temperature and slowly dripped lavender essential oil into it. In an instant, the elegant and refreshing fragrance spread throughout the bathroom, instantly dispelling the fatigue around me. The bathtub is spacious, and even if the two of us soak in it together, it doesn't feel cramped at all. Jack carefully supported me and slowly stepped into the bathtub. At that moment, time seemed to flow back, and I seemed to be back to the warm days when Jack was a child and I took good care of him. We sat quietly in the bathtub. Sometimes, we would immerse ourselves in silence, accompanied only by the gurgling sound of the water, and feel the comfort of the warm water gently wrapping our bodies with our whole body and mind. Sometimes, we would talk quietly. Jack would enthusiastically tell me the interesting anecdotes between him and David when he was a child. Those stories were interesting and always made us laugh, but as we laughed, tears would burst out without warning. "Mom, Do you remember that time when I messed up Dad's tools, but he didn't get angry and played assembly games with me? Jack's mouth curled up, tears flashing in his eyes. Of course I remember. Your dad is always so patient and loves you without reservation. I raised my hand and gently wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, with a gentle smile on my lips, and fell into memories. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about 1,000 things, but I couldn't fall asleep. David's departure often made me fall into the quagmire of endless longing and sadness, unable to extricate myself. I looked at the ceiling, and his voice, appearance and smile kept appearing in my mind like a revolving lantern. Suddenly, the door was gently pushed open, making a slight sound, and Jack's figure appeared at the door. Mom, I saw that the light in your room is still on. Are you unable to sleep again? Jack walked to the bedside lightly, his eyes full of concern. His eyes were just like when he saw me unhappy when I was a child, full of worry and heartache. Well, I think of your dad again. My voice trembled slightly, with a sob that was difficult to conceal. Jack, without him, I feel as if I have lost the direction of life. I really don't know how to go on. Jack slowly sat down by the bed, stretched out his hand, and gently placed his warm palm on my shoulder. The warmth of his palm passed through my skin, and a trace of comfort surged in my heart. Mom, you are not alone. I will always be by your side and will never leave. His voice was low and firm, as if he was making an eternal promise to me. I don't know why, at that moment, I caught a different kind of emotion from the depths of his eyes. It was a kind of attachment and dependence that went deep into my bones, mixed with some indescribable complex emotions, like a fog shrouding me, making me a little dazed for a moment. Mom, I want you to know that I love you so much. Jack's voice was low and hoarse, but it was clearly transmitted to my ears. Before I could react, he slowly moved closer and placed a gentle kiss on my lips. The kiss was a little cautious, but it seemed to be full of endless affection. This sudden kiss made me freeze instantly, and reason shouted loudly in my mind, warning me that this was an act against ethics and morality. We are mother and son, and this kind of close contact is absolutely not advisable. However, my body seemed to be out of control, and a long-lost feeling instantly spread throughout my body like an electric current. I couldn't help but respond to his kiss. Our kiss became deeper and more passionate. The air in the room seemed to be ignited by this passionate emotion and became hot. Jack, we can't do this. I panted and tried to push him away, but my hands seemed to have their own consciousness, tightly grasping his clothes, as if resisting my rational decision. Mom, I know this is wrong, but I really can't control myself. You are the most important person to me in this world, and I just want you to understand this urgently. Jack's voice trembled slightly, and the trembling was full of contradictions and struggles. His eyes were also intertwined with desire and pain. His hand gently stroked my face. His fingers passed through my hair and gently pulled me towards him. Our bodies hugged each other tightly, and every touch was like an electric current passing through, making me tremble uncontrollably. At that moment, reason and emotion launched a thrilling and fierce battle in my heart. I clearly knew that we were heading towards a wrong, thorny road, but I was like a person trapped in a quagmire. The more I struggled, the deeper I sank, and I couldn't extricate myself at all. Jack, I whispered his name softly, my voice full of helplessness and entanglement. Jack's kiss slowly moved down my cheek and landed on my neck. His breath sprayed warmly on my skin, making me feel weak all over, and my bones seemed to be broken. Mom, you are irreplaceable in my life, Jack whispered in my ear, and the words were like a burning flame, completely igniting the long-suppressed emotions deep in my heart. I slowly closed my eyes and let myself sink into this forbidden emotional vortex. Our bodies were tightly entangled, and every movement was full of deep love and endless desire. The room was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere, and time seemed to freeze. It seemed that there were only the two of us in the world, hugging each other, feeling each other's heartbeat, and breathing with our hearts. The passion faded, and we lay quietly on the bed side by side. There was silence all around, only the sound of each other's slightly rapid breathing. I stared straight at the ceiling, my heart filled with guilt and uneasiness. I knew that we had just made an unforgivable mistake, but deep in my heart, I couldn't feel any regret. This shouldn't have happened. My voice was as light as a mosquito, with a hint of bitterness. I know, Mom. Jack reached out and held my hand tightly. His hand was broad and warm. But I will never regret it. I will never regret making you feel loved. His voice was firm and powerful. In that firmness, there was a persistence that made me feel distressed. We looked at each other silently, our eyes full of helplessness and sadness. We knew that this forbidden love would bring us a lot of trouble. We had no idea how to go in the future, but at this moment, we could only hug each other tightly, trying to find a little comfort from each other's arms, and draw strength to move forward. What should we do, Jack? My voice trembled with deep helplessness. I don't know, Mom, but please believe that no matter what storms and rains we encounter in the future, I will never let go of your hand and never leave you. Jack hugged me tightly in his arms, and the strength seemed to merge me into his body, as if he was swearing to me that he would face all the unknowns with me. In this silent night, we made a decision that could not be turned back. We know that the road ahead will be full of thorns and bumps, but this forbidden love, like a blazing flame, has taken root in our hearts, and we are powerless and do not want to extinguish it. We hug each other tightly, and in this vast world, we become each other's only support, groping forward in the darkness, holding on to this forbidden emotion, and stepping towards an unknown tomorrow step by step.